if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you about it. It's free, which is amazing. And there are these really cool creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you, so it's easy to be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. And you get to make money with no minimum listenership, which is really cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started right away.
Yoga teachers, mindfulness leaders, and energy workers, are you ready to stop side hustling and start making an income doing what you love? Welcome to the Marketing Off the Mat podcast. Each week, your host, Jessica Cross, dives into conversations with successful creatives in wellness, business, marketing, and more to uncover practical methods to take your business from A to B and have some fun along the way. Grab some tea and pull up a seat. Let's dive into this episode.
Welcome back to the show. It's Jessica. I'm thrilled that you're here today. We have such a juicy episode, and it's a little bit different than what we've done lately. So I'm excited to share with you this incredible chat that I did with my friend, Dr. Marsha Evans. Dr. Evans is a clinical psychologist. She has spent 10 years in training in all things psychology. She's worked in the prison system and all over the country. And when 2020 hit, she realized all of this work that she'd done has taken her to a place that she didn't exactly want to be. And we learn all about how to manifest, what manifestation really is. It's a very buzzy term that's thrown around, and she demystifies it for us, and how to actually use manifestation in our business so we can get to where we want to be. Take a listen to this chat. You're going to love it. Hey, Marsha, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm so excited that you're here.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I'm super excited too.
So we heard a little bit about you in the intro, but I know that just scratches the surface. So tell us about you. Tell us about, your career journey and how it brought you to where you are today.
Man, where do I start? So my name is Dr. Marsha Evans, and I have my doctorate in clinical psychology with a concentration in forensics. And for the past 10 years, up until 2020, 2020 was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Up until 2020, I worked in the prison system, in the court system, but mostly the prison system throughout the country, in the mental health department. And in 2020 was 2020ing. And I entered my spiritual awakening. Literally what happened was I started experiencing depression for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? I never experienced depression. And when as a therapist or as in the psychological field, it's paramount that you take care of your mental health first. Although they don't really talk about it much, but it's definitely, you have to take care of your mental health. Anyhow, long story short, I decided to take medical leave, and literally within a 3-week span after taking medical leave, my aunt got sick with COVID, then my grandma got sick with COVID, and then my aunt passed away, and then a few days after my grandma passed away. And then I had a scary situation that could have ended my life as well outside of COVID. And all of that coupled together really was the catalyst to where I am today. It really shifted me and shift my perspective on life. I wasn't happy in the prison system anymore. The prison system was extremely stressful, especially the last stop that I was at. And I was confused. All I knew was prison. All I knew was the mental health system in the prisons. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I wasn't happy. I wasn't at peace, and I wanted that so bad.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. That is an incredible story. And I can only imagine you with your background and your incredible vast amount of knowledge, just going through that experience. You're like, it's kind of something you've gone through probably with many of your clients and the prisoners and the system that you were in, and then seeing it, you're just like, wow, I'm feeling depression, like being like having that awareness, and then all of the life stuff. Yeah. I love the way you said that 2020 was 2020. Like that's, I mean, that's a
I
lot.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. And I think sometimes it almost takes those really, really tough times for us to be awakened. And as you said too, it's like, okay, where I am right now is not where I want to be. Like I'm craving peace. This isn't it. Like what's there for me? So like, what was your next step? Like, what did you do? Like when you decided you're like, okay, I'm taking action.
Yeah. So my next step was I quit my job. During COVID, in the beginning of COVID. So it was just like, oh shit, I'm quitting my job. I just lost on one of the, like my grandma was like a second mom to me. So, I like lost the closest person, one of the closest people that like really raised me. And I went cold turkey, no backup. I didn't qualify for unemployment at the time, or period, actually. And honestly, I didn't care about the degrees. I didn't care about how much money I was making. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I just really and truly wanted to be at peace, and I just wanted to be happy. So when I quit my job, that's what I was searching for. And I put that in quotes, right? Because peace and happiness and joy and all of that comes from within. But for me, I didn't know that at the time. And I quit. And I that's how I got into manifestation. Like I was like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely not going to the prison system, especially during COVID. And I don't know. So I started to read books on manifestation. I started to, figure out what is this thing called manifestation that everyone talks about, and how can I actually implement it into my life? Because I didn't want to go to a 9 to 5, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So that's how I got into manifestation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like all the things, like you're a part of like history, the Great Resignation that we've all been going through in the past couple of years. I mean, I was too. So I'm so with you. I'm like, yes, girl. Like I remember how that felt. You're like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
There's no other choice. But
Exactly.
especially when you quit, you're like, okay, so jump and the net appears basically.
Exactly.
And those tools that you're like, okay, what, I want to fill myself up with things like learning about manifestation and how to make that said net appear in the things, in the ways that I want it to, and to take me down that path. That's incredible.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And, it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen. I think the biggest thing for me was I had to surrender. A lot of times I was, very structured. Like I know I have to go to work. I know what I have to do. And when the chaos happened in 2020, I just had to surrender. I had to surrender to the process. I had to surrender to the moment, because I realized that I had very little control. We constantly try to control things, and we're trying to control our lives, and like all these things that we do. And then when shit hits the fan, literally, it's like, crap, what do I do?
Yeah. We reach for tools. We look for tools.
Exactly.
And that's, I think one of the, unfortunate situation of COVID, and the beauty of it is it gave us some time and some space to fill ourselves up in these other ways when there is no other choice.
Exactly.
We got to find that tool for us.
Exactly. And it also like shifted a lot of us, right? Like it shifted a lot of us into like who we are wanting to be, and shift us out of things that, people weren't really happy with. And I think that's beautiful. I mean, like it needed chaos to happen, but at the same time, it's really beautiful.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot of beauty from this destruction.
Right.
That and we get to experience it, fortunately. It's so crazy too. So I'm thinking about you with this, like, you've got this incredible background, you've got all these degrees, tons of letters behind your name, and now you're like going down this other path that's like, it's sort of squishy. It's like, what, so what is manifesting? Like, what did you uncover through this experience where you're filling yourself up with all this reading and knowledge and trainings, I'm sure, and all of that kind of stuff. So what is manifesting? Like, what did you uncover?
Right. I feel like for simple terms, manifestation is like the art of calling something in, right? But here's the thing with manifestation, we're always manifesting. Like literally everything is a manifestation. So like the goal is to become intentional with what you want in life, become intentional with what you're trying to call in. And for me, when I realized that everything's a manifestation, and when there's good things that happen or not so good things that happen, it was all like an accumulation of thoughts, especially at the subconscious level. And that's one of the things that I teach, and the things that helped me was I learned how to rewire the subconscious mind, right? Like from having a psychology background, that also like made sense to me. Like, oh, we operate based on the subconscious level. So if I can rewire the subconscious mind, maybe my life will change. And that's exactly what happened. So coupled with the subconscious mind, spirituality, and the touch of science, I learned and realized that when we become intentional, when we become clear about our goals, that's what manifestation is. And another thing, you know, on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, it's so superficial. You know, they're like, oh, just write these 5 things down and it will come true. And it's like, well, sometimes maybe, but like overall, no, you know, you really have to work on your shit. Like you just have to work on what's happening internally. You have to work on the shadows. You have to work on the trauma. You have to work on all of that, because if you're not right within, how are you going to win? You know, like if you're not right within, you have to like really work on that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. It's so juicy. I'm just like, yes. Listeners, you can see my hands are in the air. I'm like, yeah, that's so good. So good. So you really kind of figured out, like you put the 2 worlds together. Your 2 worlds came to one, and you're like, I know I have this vast amount of knowledge and background in science, and there's this whole universe that we can use in order to rewire the way that we approach life and
exactly
call the things in.
Exactly. And I think that was also the missing piece, right? The missing piece to know like, hey, we have control over our reality. Like we can literally manifest anything and everything. Like, well, everything is a manifestation. So like when you become intentional and purposeful, like our entire reality can change, like it did for me. And at first I was like, oh, nah, you know, it's fake news, you know, like this is not real. It can't be real. And then when I started to become intentional, I'm like, oh shit, you know, like literally I started manifesting everything. Like I manifested $10,000 to start my Airbnb business. I manifested a free house. Like literally someone bought me a house. I manifested free flights, first class flights, like all these super, like not superficial, but all these things. But honestly, the biggest thing that I manifested was my peace and happiness. And that's all that mattered to me. Now, like that now has become a byproduct of all the tangible material things.
And isn't that what we're all after?
Exactly.
Those things are so nice. And almost, I kind of wonder if it was sort of like, here's the proof. Like, I'm going to show you the hard goods. Here's your Airbnb business. Here's your cash, your flights. And then now that you believe,
right, here's
the stuff that you're really after.
Exactly. Yep.
That's so good. So, you know, this is, and I'm loving talking about this, and this is a business podcast. And so, you know, we're thinking about like, you know, manifestation as, you know, a whole, like it's not just like our, you know, our person, it's also like what we want to bring into the world to serve others through our businesses. So if you're thinking about it, that in that lens, like what are a few tips that if you're interested in manifesting, like maybe you're wanting your Airbnb business, or you're a yoga teacher, you're wanting to go full time and stop working your 9 to 5 and start serving in the way that you're meant to, like how does someone get started in manifesting, and if they're not quite exactly sure where to start?
Right. I love that question. You know, like the hows are always important. Like, okay, but how do I do it?
Tell me how.
Right, exactly. and I feel like my strategies and what I teach is very simple, but yet so complex, right? It's like very, very simple. So I would say one of the things, follow me, because I talk all about this on my Instagram, but also being mindful that you're always manifesting and that everything is a manifestation. So being very intentional and getting clear on your goals, you know, like people, we have goals, but sometimes the clarity is missing. So becoming very clear on your goals, also trusting the process, like trusting that whatever you're setting out to the universe, God, ancestors, whatever the higher power that you believe in, trust that that's going to happen, you know, like everything happens for our highest good. So trusting the process and also practicing patience. You know, I see people write down like, oh, I don't know, a brand new car. And then the next day they're like, but where's the brand new car? Where's it at? How's it gonna, and you know, it's like, no. We have to slow down and practice patience. Another thing that I will also say is act as if. You know, act as if you already have that thing, because when you act as if, you automatically change the vibrations in your body. You automatically begin to like change, literally scientifically proven that you change your body. And that allows you to attract more. And in addition, have you guys ever heard of like fake it until you make it?
Oh yeah.
That's exactly like acting as if, right? You fake it until you make it. And then it comes, you know. And the last thing that I would say is gratitude. Staying in gratitude at all times. I know life can be hard. I know life can come at us when it comes, but a lot of times we're focusing on lack. We're focusing on what we don't have. We're focusing on the next thing, and we forget to focus on what we actually have first. And when we focus on what we have, then we're able to get more of what we want.
That's so good. I hope everybody was taking notes. That was like awesome. And I mean, all of it was so good and juicy and attainable. Like, I feel like we can all add that into, you know, our daily processes. I think the two that stuck out to me the most were patience, like having patience and not expecting that like massive change that you're expecting in your life to happen tomorrow, you know, like you're
exactly
putting it out in there and you're trusting that
exactly
it's happening for you.
Right. And it's almost like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
And it's almost like the compound effect, right? Like you just do small things over and over every day, and it becomes a compound instead of like hoping it's coming tomorrow. Like know that the universe, God is handling it.
Yeah. That's so true. It really does add up. It's having, like, I think the biggest point that stuck out to me that I was just like, oh, that's so good, that hit me right in the heart, is having gratitude for everything that you already have. And, you know, if you're building a business and you think you're like, I just want to be, you know, 30 steps down the road, but you're forgetting that if you look behind you, you were 30 steps back this time last year. So just remembering all the progress that you've already made, and it compounds, it all adds up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So if you could go back, maybe this is 2020, Marsha, or maybe it's before, I'm not sure. But if you could go back to yourself and give yourself some advice, it's something that would really, you know, keep you from a sleepless night or two, save you a headache, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say that it takes a village. You know, like at first I was just very like resistant to help. You know, like I'm like, you know, I can do it all by myself. I can figure things out. I'm a doctor, like all these things. And it's like, no, I had to slow down and ask for help. So for me, I got into therapy. I found spiritual mentors. I found business coaches. I got help with, you know, like all these different people, because it truly takes a village. So one of the biggest advice is like, don't do it by yourself. You know, like whatever that it is, there's always people wanting to help you. And there's people that have good intentions. You know, sometimes people are like, oh no, I don't want help. I don't want anyone like in my business or whatever the case is. But I think like the biggest thing is really just getting help. And that helped me 1,000 times.
Yes, like that. I think I could so relate to that. Is I think we, especially as like business owners and people that are kind of like forging this path, it's so common for us to have this lone wolf energy. And we just were like, no, it's cool. I can figure this out. I can Google it. I can study. I can do. And yes, you can. I totally believe that you can do that. But if you want to catapult yourself into that next, the 30 steps down the road, get a coach, like figure like whatever it is, like find that person, because they're out there. And there are coaches for literally everything that we need. Yeah.
Literally. And it's like, why work harder? I think that's also another thing. Like I worked so hard getting my degree and like, like all these things. And it's just like, I'm doing shit backwards. Like there's no need to overwork yourself. Like literally life can be so much easier, but we often complicate things and we often put ourselves purposely, unconsciously into stressful situations. And it's like, it doesn't need to be that hard, like ever.
Yeah. And I so agree. I feel like almost too, when we're working really hard at something, it feels more like progress because we had to like work so hard to get the thing done, and late nights, early mornings, all the things. But it's like, well, maybe you just like let someone support you in that, you could also have free time and space to rest, all the things that also help us move forward. So
exactly. And I think that's so important, the word rest, right? Like rest is just as productive as work. And we often miss that. And it's like, no, get as much rest as you need, because if you're not, this is how burnout happens, right? Like if you're not fully rested and you're overwhelmed all the time, you're going to eventually get burnt out. And then what? You're going to find the next thing, you're going to be in the same cycle, then you're going to get burnt out again. And it's like, you're constantly going to be chasing for this thing, but not realizing that you can actually take some time off and rest.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you're behind, or doesn't mean that you're in a different place than someone else who happens to be in a season where they, are going through, lots of things. There could be times too when they rest and you're very active. So I think too, like you said, it's just this society has very much catapulted us to, we got to work all the time. And, if you're not working hard right now, you're not being productive. But it's actually, thank goodness we're coming around to that's the opposite. We need the rest.
I know, exactly. I keep telling people like I'm low key canceling hustle culture, and they look at me like I have 3 heads. And I'm like, no, seriously, like we really don't need a hustle. Like there's no need to feel like you have to hustle in order to make ends meet. Like, I know it's kind of like you said, in society, that's like the American thing to do, right? Like hustle and work so hard to prove to yourself and prove to others that you made it. And it's just like, you can also like rest and sleep, and that's fine.
Yeah. And you may be better for it, and your clients might be better for it too, if you got some rest.
Exactly.
So what kind of cool things do you have coming up that we can know about and follow along?
Yes. So right now I'm taking one-to-one clients. I only take a certain amount of people a quarter. So definitely taking one-to-one clients right now. And then also I am coming out with a mini course very soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Amazing. And we'll be sure to share the links to your wonderful offers, and definitely get on her, follow her on Instagram. And by the way, tell us again, what's your handle?
My handle is Manifest with Marsha.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to include that in the show notes as well. This was so fun.
I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so wasn't that the best chat? I absolutely love the way that Marsha breaks everything down in manifestation into easily digestible chunks. She really demystified what it means to manifest and how we can use this in our business. So if you enjoyed that chat just as much as I did, go give her a follow over on Instagram. It's at Manifest with Marsha. And if you're interested in working with her one-to-one on how to manifest your dreams into your current reality, send her a DM. She sees clients one-to-one. I absolutely loved that chat with her, and I hope that you'll give her a follow. Send me a DM on Instagram if you enjoyed this chat as much as I did. I would love your thoughts and your feedback. It's at jessicacross.co. I hope that you have a beautiful day. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Off the Mat podcast, and give yourself some gratitude for taking action in your wellness business journey. Please share this episode with someone you know who could use a fresh dose of inspiration. And we'd be thrilled if you would rate, review, and subscribe to Marketing Off the Mat on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Want to share an idea with Jessica? DM her at jessicacross.co on Instagram to continue the conversation, or find out how she can help you take the next right step in your business. Until next time, stay inspired and keep showing up.